I want y'all to hear this.
Hello, beloved Mirror Memoirs community. I'm Hyun-Hee Shin. I'm one of the new board members. I'm so thrilled to have been called to the team and get to build deeper relationship within this beautiful mycelial network that we're all a part of. Thank you so much for joining us for our 5-year anniversary celebration. I am so proud and honored to share that I was part of the founding team at Just Beginnings Collaborative, who interviewed the first grantee cohort of powerful organizations and fellows in 2015, along with Adriana Rocha and Marcy McLendon, who are now my beloved friends. I remember reading Amita's proposal and interviewing them as part of the selection process. It was a clear and resounding yes from me, from concept paper to proposal to interview. Mirror Memoirs is rooted in a simple and powerful understanding of the wisdom of queer and trans survivors of color and our sacred lived experiences of staking a claim to life and of supporting each other in our survival. That's why it was a yes for me back then. That's why it's a yes for me now. I'm so grateful to be a part of this beautiful, nourishing community and so excited to celebrate with you all.
Thank you, Hyun-Hee. I want to bring Amita to really welcome us and ground us for this evening.
Thank you, Jaden. Thanks to all of our interpreters. I really appreciate everyone's patience with us as we just make sure that we can be as accessible as possible. So I think I know many of you. My name is Amita Swadhin. I use they and them pronouns, and I am the founder and co-executive director of Mirror Memoirs. And I can't believe that we have existed as a set of programs and a community for 5 years now. I think that time for me is flying very differently during these pandemic days. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Some days I feel like it's going really slow. Some days I feel like it's accelerating life. But more than anything, I really just feel like the past 2 years have been a little bit of a time warp. Jaden and I put together a little presentation. We're not going to bore you with slide decks all night, but we do have some highlights coming a little later tonight just to show you what we went through when we were putting all of the activities, especially of the past 2 years, into a visual. I was pretty stunned. And it helps me understand why I'm so tired. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. But mostly I'm also very, very grateful. As Hyun-Hee mentioned, Mirror Memoirs was an idea. It was an individual fellowship project that I got funding to experiment on. 5, almost 6 years ago now, the fellowship was given to me from the Just Beginnings Collaborative. And I know that my co-fellow Luz Marquez Benbow is here with us tonight. Thanks, Luz, for being here. There were 8 of us who were people of color, who are all child sexual abuse survivors, who were given this funding to try to do work full time to end child sexual abuse. And I remember my first idea was, well, we should just collect the stories from people who nobody really wants to uplift when we talk about movements to end sexual violence and rape culture. And I've been in this work since I was about 18. I'm 43 now. And I have to say that the data really tells us that some of the most vulnerable survivors are those who are assigned male at birth, particularly those between the ages of 11 and 17, who are gender nonconforming in some way. And what that means to me, particularly in the context of this land known colonially as the United States, is that we really need to be looking at the leadership of Black and Indigenous transgender women. And after a couple decades in the movements to end sexual violence, I didn't see those survivors' voices being listened to. I didn't see their leadership being followed. And obviously, I am not of those identities myself, being a female assigned person, being a non-binary person, and being the child of immigrants from India. I think we're pausing in our interpreters here. We're good. Okay, thank you. So I guess Mirror Memoirs to me has been my offering and my experiment to uplift those leaders, the leaders that I want to follow as a survivor myself, who doesn't just want to talk about my own story, but really wants to end rape culture. I really want every aspect of our society that allows child sexual abuse to be the global pandemic it is, to be eradicated. And I'm really humbled that so many people have said yes to this experiment, and really to what I'm proud to say is now a national organization, really thanks to each and every one of you for being here tonight. So before I pass it back to Jaden to introduce our first performer, I want to ask you all to introduce yourselves in the chat. If you want to say where you're zooming in from tonight. I also have, if you don't know whose land you're occupying, I'm zooming in from Keech land in Southern California, also sometimes known as Tongva land. And I would love to hear where you're all joining us from in celebration tonight. I do hope that in the coming year, we can all get together to celebrate in person. But until then, I didn't want this opportunity to go by without taking a moment to pause and reflect on, wow, you all said yes. And here we are tonight in community with one another. So thank you so much. And as you bring yourselves into this virtual room, I'm going to pass it back to Jaden to start us off with a little musical performance for the evening.
Thank you, Amita. I realized I didn't even introduce myself to y'all, but y'all probably know. But anyway, I'm Jaden. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm also on Tongva, or what is also known as Keech land here in the Los Angeles area. So I'm very excited for our first performer, Trey Lam. Trey uses their strident voice politically, and it's very politically charged songwriting and fluent instrumental prowess on the guitar, piano, strings to create their art in the world. They are currently developing Otherland, an audio-visual chamber folk album on radical self-acceptance, intersecting identities, and healing in the wake of grief and loss. Yes, we are all grieving so much. So without further ado, Treya.
Hi everyone, my name is Trey Lam, and so excited to be with y'all this evening to celebrate 5 years with Mirror Memoirs. This is a song called Magic, and it's about holding on to what keeps you going in times of uncertainty. A spell of sage exploding in the roadside, a broken cage, and the birds are out to kiss the sky, carried by the wind. She'll build a home to keep you warm, grounded by the earth. There'll be a shelter from the storm. Take your time, little child, don't you go growing up too fast now. The world is full of magic, it's wonderful, it's fragile, let's try to make it last. Whoa. Ooh. Ooh. had their tides, rejoicing over their new daughter. Take your time, little child, don't you go growing up too fast now. The world is full of magic, it's wonderful, it's right, oh, let's try to make it last. Whoa, oh, take your time, little child, don't you go growing up too fast now. The world is full of magic, it's wonderful, it's fragile, let's try to make it last. Oh, let's try to make it last. 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 Thanks for being here. And for being. Hasn't been easy. But we're not alone in it. And this is a song called Queer and Quiet. I feel different. I don't see anyone like me. And I'm hearing all this talk of self-love, and I don't know what that means. My back's in the corner, I'm the only one in the room, and they tell me that a change is coming. I hope it's coming soon. Head underwater and the waves are rough, and I don't feel like I'm enough. Oh, I don't feel like I'm enough. And I am queen. Joy is my device. United we rise, divided we fall, and we fly the flag that carries the colors of us all. And we are resilient, and we are so strong. Sometimes it's not easy to keep your head up tall, and you should know that you're enough, worthy of the light and love, worthy of the light and love, and we are queens. We're not quiet, we are here. We are fighting for our right to be at the Stonewall riots. Our joy is, our defiance. And our joy is, our defiance. Thanks so much.
Y'all show love for Treya some more in the chat. And actually, we're gonna pass it to Amita to really let us know what we've actually been up to for the past 5 to 6-ish years.
Thank you, Jaden. And I assume that you caught a note in the chat for you about the interpreter in Spanish. So I will let you take care of that. And hello again, everyone. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I think that there's a question in the chat about who was that artist. That artist's name, their name is Trey Lam, Treya, and then the last name is Lam as in Mary. Yes, so good. And I'm so grateful that we have some music tonight so that it's not just me and Jaden showing you slides, but I do have a couple of slides for you. And so this is just a little glimpse of what we've been up to since we started. Technically, it depends how you count it. Some people are like 2016, doesn't that mean that you've completed 6 years? Technically, I did get fellowship funding in the beginning of 2016. And the very first thing I did was call 6 of my friends and colleagues who are all queer and or trans or intersex or non-binary people of color who also survived child sexual abuse and who are also committed to abolition and who were open to this experiment of initially what was supposed to be an audio archive and knowing or figuring out what we could learn from creating an audio archive of survivor stories at this particular intersection that we all live at. So that's really what I was working on in 2016. I don't know that I count that really as programming. I just want to shout out for a moment the 6 people, and I'll put them in the chat, who said yes to this journey. One of them is here and you'll hear from them today, our founding board chair, Luna Merbruja, also LaDon Best, Treva Ellison, who is still on our board, Bambi Salcedo, who many of you know as the founder of Trans Latina Coalition, Emmy Koyama, and Sri Panchalam, who is still serving today with Mirror Memoirs, but on our leadership council. So what I did in 2016 was spend a lot of time with these 6 people. And we decided to come up with some values that we believed in, some research questions, meaning, hey, if I'm going to travel around the country and just talk to our people, what do we want to ask them? And then I started traveling. I recorded the first interview in September of 2016. So when I say 5 years, that's what I'm thinking of, is really like, oh, 5 years ago, we recorded our first interview, and that was the beginning of what are now a bunch of programs. In 2017, as you can see, that's when we really started public facing events. I testified in the Senate against Jeff Sessions. I gave the keynote at the National Sexual Assault Conference. Several of my board members came. It was one of the first time we had a critical mass of trans women of color who were sexual violence survivors at the National Sexual Assault Conference. And later that year, we did have the first National Mirror Memoirs convening, which I will say was one of my favorite moments of the past 5 years, because my own youngest sister, who's 20 years younger than me, who's also a survivor, was 18 and she had just come out as queer. And so literally like a month or 2 before this convening. And so she got to come to the convening and talk about her survivorship and talk about being queer and talk about being Indo-Guyanese and talk about wanting to be an advocate while surrounded by this amazing intergenerational container of about 30 other survivors. And what an incredible experience. That's an incredible experience that I wish I had had at age 18. And it just means a lot to me that I was able to co-create that with many of the folks who are in this virtual room for a very personal relationship in my life. In 2018, we moved into some data and design. So I completed 60 recorded interviews for our audio archive across 15 different states from 2016 to 2018. Treva Ellison, who is a professor and who was teaching at that time at Dartmouth College, hosted myself, Luna, Jaden, and a few other folks from our team to become researchers. So we went through and transcribed all of the interviews. We looked at trends across the stories. We started to notice things like, for example, 9% of the survivors in our archive were raped or sexually assaulted by a cisgender woman. Those kind of data points are not commonly known in the world. They do show up very clearly in the Mirror Memoirs audio archive. Another important one is that several of our members were raped or sexually assaulted in state custody, including as children, whether that was at a psychiatric hospital or a juvenile, so-called juvenile detention center or prison for kids. So that is one of the things that from the very beginning has informed our abolitionist politic. We did host our first formal board retreat in 2018, where a lot of the things I was excited to see that we're doing today actually came from the board members' ideas back in 2018. And we did host our second national convening with about 30 survivors from all over the country in Los Angeles with my dear friend Ignacio Rivera, who founded the HEAL Project and who was also a fellow in the Just Beginnings Collaborative. In 2019, we started to really build out what is the nonprofit container. We got fiscal sponsorship from community partners. We hosted our first training institute for what we call core members. So you could be a member just by coming to a meeting, by coming to a healing circle, by attending a panel, or by sharing your story in the archive. But in order to get paid to facilitate a healing circle, or paid to speak on a panel, paid to lead a training in the world, to teach people our analysis and our methodology, we wanted to make sure there were some shared commitments, practices around things like accountability, healing justice, transformative justice, and some good skills around curriculum, around facilitation, around holding space. And so we had about 10 people in Oakland in 2019 to pilot that first training institute. And we had big plans, everyone. We were going to do this training institute in centers all over the country where we have a critical mass of members. For us, we have most of our members in California because we're headquartered in Los Angeles, but we do have a critical mass in Seattle, another in Boston, another in DC, and certainly another in New York, which is where I am from. Of course, 2020, we know what that was. So we didn't get to do those training institutes in person, but we had plans and we had a template. And then as 2019 was ending, myself and Jaden and Alexandra Magallon, who was at that time intended to be our third co-executive director, we traveled to Northern California with one of our partner organizations, the Ahimsa Collective, also a Just Beginnings collaborative member. And we sat in circle for an entire day with incarcerated men who have committed child sexual abuse. And that was really important to all of us to really lean into our practice around abolition, was to sit with people who have caused that harm. Because the first thing that people say when you say we don't believe in police and prisons is, what about the rapists, right? So we challenged ourselves to sit with men who have been in a program where they're getting support to talk about it, right? To name the harm that they've done. And unsurprisingly, when they heard my story and Jaden's story and Alex's story, we passed a talking piece around the circle and we all got to speak to each other. And one by one, they started to disclose their own survivorship as children. Almost every single one of those men had been raped as children. And it was heartbreaking and not surprising, but it was heartbreaking to think, wow, what could society look like if we actually had space to support survivors across all gender lines, if we had a way to talk to children in an honest way about how common this pandemic is, right? And so 2019, I would say, is where we really started to get clear about the kind of programming that we want to engage in. Of course, in 2020, the pandemic began. We had to, quote unquote, pivot, right? That overused nonprofit word. And then in 2021, it's been a year of our co-directors, myself and Jaden, really leading together. So I'll show you, so much happened with full-time staff. Imagine that we were really able to build things out. So in 2020, My fellowship ended in the end of 2019. So January was the first thing I became a full-time executive director at that time. We hosted a day-long institute for the first time at the Creating Change conference, specifically for queer and trans child sexual abuse survivors. And that was the first time we had someone under the age of 18 actually in space with us. There was an Indigenous trans young person who was 17 who was at Creating Change with their high school students like GSA, and they came to our day-long institute. So once again, as a former youth organizer, I'm always deeply moved when there are actual young people who are so much closer to their experience of surviving child sexual abuse, who are brave enough and bold enough to sit in circle with other survivors and claim that healing for themselves. In March, we joined the National Invest in Trans Lives campaign, which was also founded by Bambi Salcedo. That is a demand from trans-led and non-binary-led organizations to correct the fact that philanthropy currently, and especially prior to COVID, only 3 cents of every $100 from foundations around the country go to trans-led organizing. So we are part of a campaign calling for accountability from philanthropy to right that wrong, especially because our people are disproportionately facing oppression. In September of 2020, we got our first intern, Gray Butler, who at the time was a student in college. And they're wonderful. Several of you talked to Gray because they helped us start interviewing healing justice practitioners for what will become next year the first toolkit that we release around how to engage in practices that can help you listen to the Mirror Memoirs audio archive while staying grounded and feeling cared for by yourself and by community. In November of 2020, of course, the pandemic was in full effect. We launched a member support fund specifically to give away $500 micro grants to any trans, non-binary, or intersex, Black, Indigenous, Latinx, or disabled folks who survived child sexual abuse and who were in need. And then finally, December 1st of 2020, one of my favorite days in Mirror Memoirs history, because I got a partner in this work full time. Jaden came on staff full time as co-executive director, and pretty much immediately he got accepted into the Solis Policy Institute of the Women's Foundation of California. I'm so grateful for Jaden's leadership in our policy and coalition and advocacy work. 2021 has been an incredibly busy year once again. We began several partnerships to host a lot of public education panels to talk about what we've learned over the last 5 years. We engaged in some research, policy advocacy. The media somewhat started to pay attention to our work. We were on Yahoo News, Upworthy, and even featured on Lady Gaga and Demi Lovato's Instagrams, weirdly enough. Very grateful for their support. We also raised and gave away $77,000 in $500 grants to our member support fund. And we could not have done that without all of you. That is a very grassroots effort that comes directly from our supporters. So thank you to each and every one of you who made that possible. I just want to go through a couple more highlights, and then I promise I will pass it back to the fun part of the evening. But this January of 2021, we joined the California Transgender, Gender Nonconforming, and Intersex Policy Alliance to allocate funds to the Transgender Wellness and Equity Fund, AB 2218, that passed at the end of 2020. You know, typical politicians, they passed that bill and then allocated $0 to it. So we had to hold our government accountable to make sure that our people get the money that we deserve. We also began virtual monthly member meetings in January 2021. That is a drop in space on the second Saturday of every month. And we often invite healing justice and transformative justice facilitators to help us hold that space and share their skills and workshops with our folks. In March of 2021, Jaden became a fellow with the Weingart Foundation. He is a first-time executive director, so he's learning a lot about nonprofit governance, nonprofit leadership in a cohort with other Los Angeles-based executive directors. In April of this year, I was a plenary speaker at the National Conference on Health and Domestic Violence, thanks to our partners at Futures Without Violence. This fall, Jaden's leadership led to the passage of AB 124, which is the Justice for Survivors bill, which forces juries and judges to take someone's trauma history into account. If they are a survivor of trauma, that must be considered during the sentencing process. So that's a huge harm reduction victory. And thank you, Jaden, once again for your leadership there. I also joined the Social Justice Partners Los Angeles Accelerator cohort, which is a fellowship that's going to help me try what feels like a gargantuan task for me to talk about our work beyond our intimate community of you all, right? How do I talk to people who don't believe in abolition? How do I talk to people who maybe don't think they know any transgender people, let alone trans folks of color and non-binary folks of color? How do I talk to folks who are not child sexual abuse survivors and don't realize how common this violence is? So I'm really excited this spring to begin getting some communications coaching from that fellowship. And then, as many of you know, last month, very exciting, we were finally able to bring what was a 10-year vision for me of a theater project, specifically uplifting Black trans femmes who are survivors of child sexual abuse. We brought that to life and filmed Transmutation, a ceremony, in a theater here in Los Angeles. And then we screened it at the end of last month virtually for about 100 of you all as our audience members. So those are just some highlights. I could go on and on. It's been an incredible 5 years, but I'm really more interested in starting to turn our attention as a whole team to what's coming next. So I think I am passing it back to you, Jaden, for a very fun part of the evening, our first go of Raffle Prizes.
Yes, Raffle Prizes. I'm excited for this. I mean, that was also very exciting. We have been doing so much. And we have a lot more planned, but for some fun, that's not just about child sexual abuse, let's have a raffle. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Our first raffle prize is this lovely tie-dye kurta hoodie donated by Abakashi, which is a like a boutique store based in New York, I believe. Okay. Now time for the raffle. Are you ready? Congratulations, Don X. All right, okay. Congratulations, Don X. You got that lovely hoodie. Our next raffle prize is this super delicious looking warm and cozy hat box donated by Dylan's Candy Bar, which is a boutique candy situation. And that looks delicious. I wish I could eat it. All right, who's gonna win this fun warm hat candy box from Dylan's Candy Bar? All right, Opulence. I hope you like candy. All right, we have a few more. I just realized I didn't even share my screen for y'all. It's been that kind of day. Here we go. Our next prize is this Chiron Moon and Venus astrology reading by Healing Queen Reina Prado. Reina, this is a good one, y'all. Reina is an amazing healer. Like next level, that's gonna be a good one. All right, let's see who wins this reading. All right, Yaya is one of our interpreters. Congratulations, Yaya. That is a good one. All right. Let's see. Next raffle prize. Ooh, this one's really pretty, y'all. It's this beautiful tea set from Wing On Wan, donated by Jess Snow, who is someone that we've partnered with a lot. So let's see who is getting this beautiful tea set. And the winner is Magna. Congratulations. All right. I believe we have one more that we'll do for now. This next one is this survivor support herbal care package that was donated by Community Care Apothecary. I know we all need some herbal care right now. All the care we can get right now. Let's see who's winning this. Here we go, here we go. Denise Rodriguez. Congratulations. That's a good one. That's a good one. You don't have to share that one. That's a good one. All right, we'll do one more and then we will move on. This last one that we'll do for now. Well, this is beautiful. This is a limited edition print from our partner that we work with a lot, Jess Snow. And this is a limited edition print of poet Safia Ahilo. Oops. Y'all can't see that one yet. Pretend you didn't see that one. All right, let's see who wins this beautiful limited edition print. Sam Miller. Congratulations, Sam. Congratulations. Excited for you. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Perfect, thank y'all. That was really exciting. All of these really fun raffle prizes. And it's still me. I'm gonna also now talk a little bit about where we've been going. So y'all heard from Amita, like what we've been up to. We have been up to so much. And it's been really exciting now with 2 staff members to be able to get a lot more done. But there's a lot that we want to do. And honestly, we need your help to make sure that we can get it done. So we saw with our pivot in 2021 with doing more member stuff, how important our member meetings were. So we are going to keep doing that. We're going to keep having our monthly member meetings. And this is really a way for us to continue our partnerships with other healing justice practitioners and organizations. So especially during this time when so many of our members were really impacted and dealing with isolation throughout the pandemic, we really found that it's important for us to keep having this space for folks to connect with other survivors. And the vision is big. The vision is very big and we need more people. So we're planning to hire 2 more positions next year. We're really excited about that. We'll be hiring a development and communications director so that someone whose job it will be to make sure that we get these emails out on time and, really connecting with our donors. And then we will be also hiring a program director to handle some of our programs as we expand. So we're really excited about that. You can look out for those job descriptions early in 2022. We're really excited to expand our team and to build more relationships. We are also planning to launch, Amita mentioned the the pilot training institute that we had a while ago. So we're planning to launch some more training institutes probably later in 2022. I am reminded again and again to move at a pace that matches our capacity. So that'll likely be later in 2022, our leadership institutes. There will be one specifically for Black survivors and one for other QTBOC survivors. We feel like it's important to have a closed space for Black folks to be honest about the experiences we have and cultivating our relationships with each other and supporting our leadership. We are also excited to begin the release of our long-awaited audio archive. So we're really excited about that. Along with that, there will be some toolkits to go with the audio archive for folks to really engage with it intentionally. And that also means we'll have a new website, which is really exciting as well. And then along with some screenings for Transmutation, we are hoping to be able to have a live performance with our cast at an outdoor theater here in LA. So that is a big plan for late 2022. And we're trying to have it outdoors, understanding that we're still in a pandemic. And then, depending on where COVID is this time next year or further, we'll be planning to have another national survivor convening. So we got some fun things in the works, really excited and grateful for all of the ways that you have supported us thus far, and excited for you all to be along with us as we move forward. Let's see. I think now it is time for...
I think Luna is up next.
That's right. It's time to hear from our board chair. Y'all, Luna is our board chair, but beyond being the board chair, Luna is also the very first survivor to ever record their story in the Mirror Memoirs archive. I mean, Luna is also one of the co-directors and co-writers of Transmutation. And Luna is also like just a boss. So Luna, I'll let you really go into everything that you do.
Thank you, Jaden. Hi, everybody. I am so stoked to be here. When Amita told me a few months ago that we were coming up on our 5-year anniversary, I really didn't believe them. I went back in my calendar and was like, hold up, let me do some math. And it really has been 5 years. That timeline does not even cover just half of the incredible things we've done. It's there's a lot of these things we've accomplished, but I think the thing I'm most proud of as a board member, as a survivor, a part of this community, we have built this incredible network of survivors. Every event, convening, production that we've done, there's so many people invested in our work and our mission and our goal. And we feel that love every time we do something. We have like people all over the country, people internationally who care about our vision and our goal. And it's been incredible, like in a grand scheme kind of way, like looking at the universe and the stars and all the ways we're connected. But some of my favorite moments have just been connecting with other survivors, like Bambi Salcedo, who's also another founding member. I remember we were chilling in a pool, and I can't imagine such a moment of leisure if it wasn't for our organizing work with Mirror Memoirs. A lot of my favorite memories with this organization actually does involve water. There's so many ways that we've found ways to connect and relax while we're doing this work. I've been a part of many nonprofits, but this is the only one I've been a part of for 6 years. That's a real testament to the strength of our community, the way that we genuinely care for each other and have these like strong, lasting relationships with one another. This isn't an organization where people are kind of just filing through and, we're like recycling old projects and whatnot. Like it's always grounded in us. I will be coming off the board after my term ends in 2022. But just like a lot of the other board members who have rolled off for different reasons, we're still connected in many ways. And I'm still going to be committed to this organization and the movement work that we've built. So for those of you who have been here, thank you for sticking around. I'm so glad we're in this together. For those of you who are new to our organization, hi, hello. I hope you feel the love and the connection we have here. Our visions and our goals for our liberation, our healing is for us, right? I genuinely believe the strongest aspect of Mirror Memoirs is the survivors who lead it. So with that being said, I will return it back. And again, thank you so much for being here and celebrating our accomplishments. We have so much more work we're gonna do, and I hope you stick around for that too. Bye.
Thank you so much, Luna. This is Amita, the voice from the background, because Jaden, I think what's next is a video from our newest board member.
That's right. Thank you, Mystery Voice. Let us see this video from our newest board member, Layla.
Hi everyone, my name is Layla Zainab and I am one of the newest board members to Mirror Memoirs. I'm excited today to share with you why I said yes to Mirror Memoirs. I first joined as a participant in the Oral History Project. I then joined as a member and then deepened my commitment this past year as a board member. And I said yes to Mirror Memoirs because this is one of the only spaces, if not the only space that I can think of, that honors all of my identities while also acknowledging the experiences I've had as a child sexual abuse survivor. And that's a unique experience to have. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to support this work. And I will continue to show up as a public survivor because I think it's so important, the importance of speaking out against childhood sexual abuse and all the ways that society perpetuates child abuse. I'm honored to be a part of Mirror Memoirs and the work that we do. Thank you.
So as you can see, everyone, I am truly blessed with the most amazing team. This has been a very heartbreaking time in so many ways, but I really mean it when I say what has kept me grounded is the people that I get to be in this journey and this container with every single day. These folks are not only my comrades, but also my friends. And I can see folks in the chat kind of vibing on that, picking up on the care we have for each other. And it's true, it's really real. And I do want to make sure that we are inviting all of you into this container with us. In the very beginning of this evening, Hyun-hee, who is the board member who made all of this possible by selecting me for the fellowship that gave the money to create Mirror Memoirs, Hyun-hee called this a mycelial network. Mycelium, the filaments that grow off of fungus. Yep, mycelial network. We really see ourselves as weaving a mycelial network, a way for us to share resources with one another, the same way that mycelium feeds an entire forest, the same way that mycelium can actually spread toxins within a forest. We have to work on ourselves. We have to heal our hearts so that we treat each other with grace and with compassion, even when we're in conflict with one another, because we do get into conflicts with one another. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, but it matters how we show up. It matters that we don't throw each other away. And mycelium, in the sense that we are composting the soil of this very toxic society that we live in. And I mean it when I say we invite you to truly be part of that with us. We can't do this alone as queer and trans survivors of color, and we shouldn't do it alone. Because whether you're a survivor or not, whether you're a white person or a person of color, whether you're a straight person or a cisgender person or a queer person or a trans person, every single one of us was raised in rape culture. And personally, I'm tired of the notion that it's somehow up to survivors to end rape culture by ourselves, right? This is a collective effort that we really want to invite you into. And so, as I get off my soapbox, a fun game that we have for you is just getting to know Mirror Memoirs a little bit better. We're curious to know, how much do you already know about us? So I've posted some trivia questions. There are 5 questions. Please go ahead and make your choices. I'm very curious to see how many of you know in what city is Mirror Memoirs headquartered. That's question number 1. So go ahead. You should see the poll up on your screen. I know there's 28 of you here with us tonight, live and tuning in, of our participants. Question number 2, for those who are skipping ahead, my A+ Gold Star students, in which theater was Transmutation, a ceremony, filmed, is our second question. Our third question is, approximately how many queer and trans and intersex, BIPOC child sexual abuse survivors across the United States are Mirror Memoirs members? Luz, I see you in the chat, but this is a poll that you should see on your Zoom screen. Question number 4, how many queer, trans, intersex, BIPOC child sexual abuse survivors recorded their stories in our initial audio archive? And the last question, how many trans, non-binary, or intersex BIPOC child sexual abuse survivors received a $500 micro grant from our member support fund this year? So I see about half of you have voted so far. Go ahead and take a moment to think all this through, and then I will give the answers. We tried to start off with an easy one because I think most of you know where Jaden and I live. I'm going to give you one more minute. I see about 20 of you have answered so far. I'm wondering which will be the hardest. I bet number 5 is the hardest one to figure out, unless you're in our accounting, to know how many people actually got those micro grants, which were really crucial to people as rent moratoriums are ending, as medicine is still very expensive, as folks are not making a living wage. People were really relying on that mycelial network of support this year. So really, thank you for that. Okay, I am going to go ahead and end this poll and share the results. So let's see. Almost everyone got it correct that yes, we are headquartered in Los Angeles. We did film Transmutation, a ceremony at the Aratani Theater. So yes, choice number B. Approximately how many survivors are Mirror Memoirs members? This was a close one, but it is actually the last choice. About 500 queer, trans, intersex, BIPOC survivors across the United States. I hope that this network will continue to grow in coming years. How many QT BIPOC child sexual abuse survivors recorded their stories in the initial audio archive? The first answer is correct. 60 people across 15 different states. Boy, I was on a plane every 2 weeks for about 3 years collecting stories. My partner said that he often felt like I was a guest visiting our home. So I am glad. This pandemic time has been hard, but I am actually glad to be home for a minute. And finally, how many folks got micro grants from the Survivor Support Fund this year? The answer is 154. We were able to give $77,000 away, divide that by 500. It's 154 people. But the one thing I want to say here is that unfortunately, we had more people who actually qualified for the fund and who applied than we had money to give. And so that does bring us to just the importance of the support tonight. I do want to share that we will be pulling from specifically our recurring monthly donations. If you are someone who is like, Amita, I don't have a ton of money to give, but I could give $10 here, $10 there. I want you to think about tonight what it would look like for you to become a monthly recurring donor, because folks who sign up to make a monthly recurring donation, especially if you sign up through our member support fund page, which I'll put in the chat in a moment, that money goes directly to those micro grants. And we still do get folks asking us for help even today. And I think that that's going to continue through the rest of the pandemic. So thank you so much for playing this little game with me. I think I am passing it back to Jaden for a raffle, and I will put that member support fund link in the chat.
That was so fun. Most of y'all did pretty good. Good job. Before I do the raffle, I forgot I was supposed to share my favorite Mirror Memoirs memory as well. And so real quick, I will share. At the very first convening in 2017, my partner and I have been friends now for like 8 years or whatever. And there had been a little flirtation there, here and there. But at the very first convening, we were doing this like exercise where we had to stare into each other's eyes for some, amount of time. And yeah, things kind of clicked. And later that evening, my partner was like, yo, I have feelings. And I was like, yo, me too. And things began. Granted, they then moved to a different state for 2 years, but yeah. So my favorite memory is really falling in love with my partner. And I know if I didn't tell the story, Amitha would. So now, on to some more raffle prizes. We have a few more prizes for y'all. Very exciting prizes. I'm gonna remember to share my screen this time. It's just been one of them days. All right, here we go. This next raffle prize is this crispy treat gift set donated by Dylan's Candy Bar. All these sweets look delicious, and I wish that I could have them. The winner is Wilczek. Forgive me if I mispronounced your name. Congratulations on winning that delicious set from Dylan's Candy Bar. All right, up next we got another reading from Healing Queen Reina Prado. Y'all, everybody who's getting these readings, y'all are so in for a treat. Reina is absolutely amazing. All right, let's see who's going to win this one. Ere Lee Perez. Congratulations. That's a good one. All right, let's see. We have another hand-painted flower pot set from Wing on Woe and Company, donated by the amazing Jess Snow. And let's see who is going to win this beautiful hand-painted, y'all, hand-painted flower pot. And the winner is McKinney, who was on our leadership council. Congratulations, McKinney. That is so beautiful. All right, let's see what else we got for y'all. Ooh, this beautiful handmade soap and candle set with some agua florida from Brown Sugar Honey Child, which is a friend of mine. I'm really excited about this one, y'all. This is handmade. I love a good handmade soap. All right, let's see who's winning this one. Wendy Flores. Congratulations, Wendy. You're gonna be smelling nice. You're gonna have some nice, good smelling candles. It's a good life. Ooh, this one's fun. This is fun. For all the folks who like to have a little fun, we believe in pleasure around here too. We have a leather cuff set and these Tanga Flex masturbation cups donated from Daddy Row Ruckus, who was the first Mix Cruise LA leather title holder in LA. Now let's see who's getting this one, all right? Who's getting this? Jimmy! Congratulations, for real, for real. That's a nice one. That's a real nice, you know what I'm saying? And last but not least, we have one more reading from Healing Queen Reina Prado. This is so perfect as the year is ending to really get a reading like this. Y'all are lucky, or like top of the year, you know? Let's see who's winning this. James. All right, that's all the prizes, y'all. Congratulations to all of our winners. Really excited for y'all. And I'm gonna bring back up Amita and one of our leadership council members, Sophie.
Thanks, Jaden. I love that folks are winning fun prizes. And like I said in the chat, I will be following up tomorrow on email just to make sure that we have your mailing address for all the things that need to get mailed. I'm so excited to be in conversation tonight with my friend Sophie, who has joined our leadership council. Fun fact, okay, this is the magic of Mirror Memoirs. Sophie and I have spent a lot of time together through the pandemic, and all of it has been virtual, even though we both live in LA County, because pandemic times, y'all. So I will say one thing I'm looking forward to in 2022 is actually having in-person time with Sophie. And Sophie and I met through the Resource Generation Network, which is an amazing national network of young people who are inheriting generational wealth, who are stewarding generational wealth and want to hold that money responsibly and in service of collective liberation. So I'm so grateful that Sophie and I clicked, and that she was very generous about stepping onto our leadership council. And I'll let her tell you a little bit more about what her journey has been like with Mirror Memoirs. So thanks, Sophie.
Sure thing. Yes, this is a goal of mine to either like fist bump, elbow bump, or give a big bear hug to Amita sometime in 2022. It's such a pleasure to be here, and I'm glad I get to share a little bit about my experience with Mirror Memoirs. So like Amita said, I was connected to Mirror Memoirs somewhat randomly through a peer of mine who's also part of Resource Generation, who was like, there's this org, they do rad work, you want to learn more about them. And so I attended a winter celebration. It must have been a year ago now. And there were performances by artists. There were excerpts from the audio archives and from interviews from survivor leaders. And I was blown away. I really was not expecting it, did not know the space that I was walking into, but was blown away by honestly the clarity with which Mirror Memoirs is doing their work, and also just the tenacity of sharing not only the stories of survivors, but really being clear about whose stories they are centering and whose leadership they are centering. And as a survivor myself, and yet as a cis woman who is queer, it's been really important to me as I stepped into this community to really center the leadership of queer, trans, and intersex BIPOC survivors. And I have felt a change both in my own healing and my ability to center a new narrative being part of Mirror Memoirs. So tonight I want to share a little bit with you about how I have started to give to Mirror Memoirs and what that has meant to me and what the organization has been able to do in terms of their work. And as you've seen, their work is creative, it is always changing, and it is necessary. So in the beginning, I gave to support the Survivor Fund, which is still ongoing. And especially when we were in the heat of the pandemic, we still are living in pandemic times. It felt the most urgent to really give so that money could be redistributed immediately to folks who needed it. Fun fact, $500 supports one low-income trans survivor of childhood sexual abuse, with a grant towards survival needs like rent, food, medicine, and we all know those needs are not changing, and the pandemic has not made it any easier. And like Amita said, if a monthly donation is more accessible to you, it's quick and easy to set that up, and over time that can help contribute to meeting someone's survival needs who's a member of Mirror Memoirs. Something else that I love about Mirror Memoirs, and I also work in the nonprofit space, and I can say Mirror Memoirs is a unicorn in this way, but an intentional unicorn, is that their organizational structure really centers the leadership of their members, and also are constantly and consistently providing development opportunities. So the model being an inspiration to me, the next thing that I wanted to contribute to was the Training Institute that Amita talked about, where members can learn facilitation and healing justice skills. And I've actually been part of a healing circle that was facilitated by Mirror Memoirs members. And I have to say, it was a transformational experience, and I felt safe and held by Mirror Memoirs members. So $2,500 covers the stipend for one Mirror Memoirs member to go through the Training Institute. And that's been really important to me to be able to contribute to. And more recently, I decided to dedicate more resources to Mirror Memoirs because of the community they are to me and for their members. So this year, I committed $20,000 for this year and the 2 years following. And this, very importantly, is the board's money. This is the members' money. I trust them completely to build the roadmap for their future. And one of the incredibly exciting things that came out of, in part, my giving and others' giving was the development and eventually the filming of Transmutation, which Amita is going to talk about a little bit more. But $6,000 for reference covers the cost of a screening of this incredible performance. And that covers the cost of interpreters, healing circle facilitators, and stipends for cast members to share their experiences with the audience. So I know I've been rambling a lot. I want to pass it back to Amita very shortly, but I just want to really double down on my commitment to Mirror Memoirs. I'm just so in awe and in love with their vision and their act of centering Black and Indigenous, queer, trans, intersex, non-binary, and two-spirit survivors of child sexual abuse, and their vision of abolition. I think this is the vision we need to be carrying forward into the world that we want to create. And I am Mirror Memoirs super fan. And like Amita said, these are the leaders I want to follow. So with that, I want to let y'all know we are only $6,285 away from our goal of entering 2022 with at least $50,000 in donations. So I'm going to pass it back to Amita to talk a little bit more, and really encourage you to give in ways big or small and whatever feels accessible to you.
Thank you so much. And I saw one of our cast members from Transmutation, Alex Magayon, giving you a special shout out, Sophie, for all you did to make that possible. It's true that everything we do in Mirror Memoirs is really about that mycelial network, right? And redistributing resources so that they can be collectively shared. So truly, like, thank you for all you're doing on that leadership council. And folks, I want to just say that, you know, Sophie made a really wonderful investment in Transmutation, like they were saying. That is our new theater project, and it's going to be a cornerstone of our fundraising efforts in the coming year. We have set a really ambitious goal, which I think is doable given how quickly we've grown in the past 5 years. We are hoping to raise $1 million from the month of December 2021 all the way through the end of December 2022. And I'm hoping that a good chunk of that will come from individual donations. Obviously, we're open to a lot of new foundation support. If you have folks in your network who you think we should meet, who would like to support our work, I think that we're often one of the best projects that not enough people know about yet because we are so new. So tell people about us, even if you don't have coins yourself, like really it's about spreading the word. But Transmutation, we did screen it on November 21st, and about 100 people, some of you who are here tonight, were able to see it. We were able to provide ASL, live captioning, and Spanish interpretation for that screening. We were also able to provide 4 therapists who themselves are queer people of color, several of whom are survivors themselves, to lead healing circles right after the screening so that people got support. And as soon as the November 21st screening was done, we heard from a lot of people that next week through the end of November holiday, hey, I didn't get to see it. Oh no, will you please send me the recording? So my lovely folks who have helped to build this container that we're in, for everyone who gives any donation at all sometime in the calendar year of 2021, which is now till December 31st, you've still got time. If you have not made your 2021 gift yet, if you make a gift to our anniversary campaign or our member support fund before December 31st is over, we will send you a password protected link of the Transmutation recording to watch it in the comfort of your own home. It's a wonderful tool to tell people about our work, to share folks' stories, especially if you yourself are not a Black trans woman or femme, you yourself are not a survivor, or you're trying to share our work with people in your network who are not those identities, right? Our cast members have been so generous and so open-hearted about telling the truth so publicly and with so much beautiful vulnerability. It's an amazing teaching and healing tool, a gift that they've truly given all of us. And I'm very grateful to Sydney Rogers, Samantha Jo Dato, Alex Magallon, and our own board member, Ebony Ava Harper, who are our 4 cast members. So I'm going to put the link for our anniversary campaign in the chat, and I'm going to ask Jaden to share just a brief 1-minute trailer for anyone who has not seen Transmutation, so you can just see a glimpse of how magical it is. And then Sophie and I will come on just for a moment at the end and tell you a little bit more about what you can do. And don't go away, we have a musical performance right after that trailer to wrap up the evening. So Jaden, can you please pull up the trailer for Transmutation?
Transmutation is something very near and dear to my heart. It's a project that I've always wanted to express and heal and speak and voice what has happened to us.
So this isn't just a show, it's going to be a freedom experience for the viewer.
This transmutation is survival.
Join us in this very important and loving and beautiful project that is all about nurturing, healing, and taking care of oneself.
Thank you so much, Jaden. So for those of you who were not able to attend on November 21st, again, if you have not given a gift yet in 2021 and you would like to see the show, an easy way to do that is to make a gift of any amount. Anyone who gives in 2021, including folks who have already given, we will be sending in the next couple days a password protected link to see Transmutation on your own. I also want to name that for some folks, it can feel overwhelming to see transmutation on your own. And so we do have a couple options. If you still want to donate to us, we welcome that. We need the support, but we are going to host a couple more screenings with therapist support, with healing circle facilitation in the new year. And we are inviting folks. We know that some of you in our network do have connection to folks who have resources, financial resources, networks of wealth. Again, this is such an amazing teaching tool and healing tool. We have set up a form that you can fill out to host a fundraising screening of transmutation. So if you have folks where you're like, I know I have some folks like this in my own network because of the kinds of schools I went to for college and grad school, I'm certainly going to think about how I can use this as a tool to say, you should watch this film with me. And by the way, me as the co-executive director, Jaden, and Ebony as one of our board members, we're absolutely willing to make ourselves available to Zoom into a screening that you might host, particularly with folks who might want to become major donors to our work during this year of our anniversary campaign. If they're folks in California or even New York, it's possible that I could show up in person depending on what COVID is doing. Those are places that I travel to a lot. And on February 5th and April 2nd, we will be hosting fully supported by healing circles and interpreters screenings of transmutation. So I will put those dates in the chat. We will be sending the invites out soon for those events. But, you know, if you're like, I do want to see this film a lot, and I don't think I can handle seeing it without that support, just know that we have those events coming. If you are a Mirror Memoirs core demographic member, that means anyone who's queer, trans, intersex, two-spirit, BIPOC, and a survivor of child sexual abuse, we are screening a special event on January 22nd, just for folks in that demographic to be able to talk to one another in a closed space, but with therapeutic support as well. So a lot of ways to engage with this show. Sophie, I would love to hear how you're planning to use this film in the coming year with your own network.
Sure. As you were talking, Amita, I was like, well, there's so many people that I could ask to host a screening or be part of a screening. One of the things I'm going to do right away after the winter holidays is engage Resource Generation to put together a private screening that will serve as a fundraiser. And I'm also going to, similarly to Amita, think about who else in my personal network I could really engage around a type of event like this and get creative about bringing folks in. And one of the things I wanted to share, because I watched the screening and it was impactful, beautiful, and really transformed some things in me. I also shared and invited my parents to the screening who are less engaged in these type of spaces, and I do not have any or many queer, trans, or intersex folks in their lives. And I have to say that the impact for them was so profound in opening up their understanding of this, one, as an issue, and two, as something they genuinely care about now and want to learn more about. So I think that the potential of this piece, now that it's out in the world, to actually educate folks and bring them in and truly build an understanding, I think the potential is huge and very powerful. So those are some of the things I'm thinking of doing with this opportunity.
Thank you again so much, Sophie. Really appreciate all the ways that you're inspiring folks to get out there to their networks as well, to engage with this work. And, you know, as a closing piece, one thing I want to share, this was not planned, by the way, everyone, but we do have a closing performer, which was planned. I did not tell them what our show was dedicated to and about the altars that were anchoring our performance. But just so you all know, our cast members and one of our board members, Treva Ellison, we were all in ceremony with each other through some channeling by Treva, who is also a Black trans survivor, about some Ifa deities, particularly around the feminine line. Oshun, Yamaya, and Oya. I'm going to let our interpreter spell that. Because we were trying to hold space, create a container on the stage to transmute or alchemize or change the pain of our cast members into calling in beauty and calling in sweetness, specifically by asking for blessings from Oshun. And I did not tell that to our closing performer, but you'll see in just a moment that that was a theme that they intuited. And that's because they are a really gifted healer, really in alignment. I will say that I played the violin for 10 years, so I got the honor as a child of being in an orchestra space with other kids for a good piece of my childhood. And even though I was a violinist, I've always found the cello specifically to be an instrument that I love listening to. And so it's really my great pleasure, truly, to share with you our closing performer, Spirit Mcintyre, who has prepared a beautiful piece for all of us. I'm going to ask Jaden to do the formal introduction of Spirit's work and then to bring up the beautiful song that Spirit has shared with all of us. And thanks again, Sophie. I invite you all to just think about what you could do to help us share Mirror Memoirs' work with the world as the way that Sophie has so generously modeled for us all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amita and Sophie. And so it's my pleasure to introduce our final performer, Spirit Mcintyre. Spirit Mcintyre is a cellist, vocalist, lyricist, Reiki practitioner, compassionate facilitator, and visual artist who promotes empowerment and healing by any medium necessary. They believe in the importance of breath, the power of deep listening, holding space for complex emotions, healing intergenerational trauma, honoring lovability, and growing compassionately through tight places to find authentic connection. Spirit incorporates these beliefs into their work, which focuses on Black folks, transgender, gender nonconforming, and non-binary identities, health and wellness, self-expression, ancestral worship, and grief practices. They use their voice and cello to seamlessly blend blues, soul, folk, classical, reggae, and Middle Eastern sounds into an unforgettable musical landscape. Spirit is the compassionate community architect for Transvisible, a network that challenges binarism and cis sexism in social justice movements. All right, y'all. Y'all ready for Spirit?
Peace, beautiful people. My name is Spirit Mcintyre, Spirit, they, them pronouns, and I am so happy for you, Mirror Memoirs, and your 5-year anniversary. Congratulations, Amita and Jaden, and all of the other beautiful folks involved in making this happen. It takes a village. And so for your 5-year anniversary, thinking about the number 5, and for me, I immediately thought of Oshun, a deity who is here for beauty and the brilliant technology that beauty is, right? Beauty that is like, I can see myself and find joy in myself, in my own reflection. And also thinking about that mirror being held up, right? While Oshun is gazing in the beautiful mirror, that mirror is also letting Oshun know what is coming up behind her, right? So it's not just, oh, I'm lost in my own beauty in it. It's like beauty that is also informed by surroundings. And so, yes, to 5 years, entering into your 5th year, may beauty and sweetness and power find you. And Oshun's sweetness is also, it comes with machetes, right? It comes with the ability to fight, the ability to resist, the ability to cut through and make a way. So it's, you know, such practical beauty. And so this song is called In the Sweet, and it's really about, you know, welcoming in that sweet, that honey. And so I wish this for you in your 5 years. How do you want it sweet? How do you need it sweet? How shall you have it sweet, sweet on me? Spirit says, oh, you can have it how you want it. And I believe them 'cause they're so pure. And I say, oh, this is how I truly want it. Ooh, I wanna drown in the sweet rain. Just fall sweet on me, love. Just fall sweet on me, joy. Oh, just fall sweet on me, oh. How do you want it sweet? How do you need it sweet? How shall you have it sweet, sweet on me? Spirit says, oh, that you can have it how you want it. And I believe them 'cause they're so pure. And I say, oh, this is how I truly want it. Ooh, I wanna drown in the sweet rain. Just fall sweet on me, love. Just fall sweet on me, joy. Oh, just fall sweet on me, oh. Ooh. I wanna drown in the sweet. I wanna drown in the sweet. I wanna drown in the sweet, in the sweet, in the sweet, in the sweet. Yeah, 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 oh. Yeah, 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 oh, my wow. Yeah, 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 oh. Oh, yeah, 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 oh, my wow. Yeah, 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 oh, my wow. So yeah means mother, and we're talking about the sweet mother Oshun. Yeah, 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 oh. And oh my wa just means come by here. Oh yeah, 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 oh. Yeah, 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 oh my wa. In the sweet, in the sweet. Yeah, 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 oh. In the sweet, in the sweet. I wanna drown in the sweet. congratulations again, Mirror Memoirs. And here's to many more years of all the brilliant, beautiful work that you do.
That was so beautiful, Spirit. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for your grace with our timing tonight. I just want to believe that it's all divine timing that is supposed to flow in the ways that it has. Yes, please show more love for Spirit in the chat. It really was gorgeous. And I feel like I'm still really tripping of that. It ties in so beautifully to the work that we created with Transmutation, a ceremony just last month. So I just really love that about Mirror Memoirs. It happens all the time. That's another whole day of conversation that we could have with everyone that's been involved with Mirror Memoirs in the last 5 years. So, and yes, thank you to our interpreters, Zena and Brianna. I know Spirit was giving you a shout out, Brianna, for the beauty of watching their work be interpreted. So thank you everyone for making tonight possible. Jaden, where can folks go to find out more about our work?
I just put in the chat where you can find us on social media. On IG, we are mirror.memoirs. On Twitter, it's Mirror Memoirs, no extra dot. And Facebook, it's also Mirror Memoirs. And then I also put in the chat where folks can donate to our member support fund and to our big goal for 1 million in 2022. This is like Amita mentioned earlier, if you get that in before the end of the year, you have about 5 more minutes. I'm just kidding. To get in your donation to be sent that link to watch Transmutation in a private screening.
Yes, and we will leave that link open with the password that we send out to all of our donors all the way through Sunday, January 10th. So you do have some time. And again, if you'd rather watch it in community with us, February 5th is a Saturday. That will be from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific time with the whole kit and caboodle of interpreters and healing circle facilitators. That's our show for tonight, everyone. My ask of you is just to tell somebody who doesn't already know about Mirror Memoirs, about what we're creating here, and truly, truly deep gratitude for everyone who has said yes to this wild journey and experiment over the last 5 years. I'm so proud of every single one of us for saying yes to this unknown, because it just continues to be so beautiful and healing for myself. And I hope for everyone who this project touches in some way. Thanks for spending your Thursday evening with us. I hope that the end of year, especially with solstice coming up, allows deep, deep restoration for all of us. I know that I'm not the only one feeling the fatigue. And so may this time of the end of the year bring that sweetness in that Spirit Mcintyre has called in for all of us. And we will see you in 2022. Thanks, everyone. Take care.